Good afternoon, members of Parliament, support staff, visitors in the Public Tribune, radio listeners, TV viewers, all those viewing via social media, and of course, the members of the media. Very good afternoon to all of you. I welcome you to the continuation of this Central Committee meeting for today, Wednesday, October the 9th. This is Central Committee meeting number 22 of the parliamentary year 2023-2024. I give a special welcome at this time to the Prime Minister and Minister of General Affairs, Mr. Luc Mercelina, and his support staff. At this time, we have established a quorum of 12 members. Please stand for a moment of silence. Thank you. I have received notice of absence from the member MP Doran, and I would ask if there are any other notifications from the floor, and I see that MP York has indicated his desire to use notifications. MP York, you have the floor.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, Prime Minister and support staff. Good afternoon, Khifi, and good afternoon, colleagues and everyone watching. Madam Chair, I am someone that deeply believes in our culture and preserving our cultural heritage. And I received word that the very same monument that was in danger of being demolished last year, a couple of months ago, as we speak, there is a contractor doing excavation works in the area of the monument, Diamond Estate to be exactly. Mike, and seeing that we have the Prime Minister and the Minister of Culture here with us today, at some point during the meeting, I would like some type of update if this contractor has any permit or of the sort to be doing the works that is being done right now in the vicinity of the monument. Because a lot of times we have a lot of, oh, I didn't know. And before you know it, the monument is gone, or demolished, or destroyed, and I would like to avoid that this time around. Thank you.
Thank you, MP York. Note taken, and I'm sure that the Prime Minister will act according to his to the information provided, and act according to his discretion in terms of providing whatever information that he can or has to Parliament. Are there any other notification, members? We have MP Lewis. MP Lewis, you have the floor.
Good afternoon, Chair. Good afternoon, Prime Minister. Good afternoon to my honorable members of Parliament. Good afternoon, St. Martin. I have also taken note of the information regarding to the monument. I've sent a WhatsApp message with the pictures that I've gotten to the Minister of Romy, so that I can get an update as to what is being transpired in Diamond Hill, Colby, with regards to that monument.
Thank you, MP Lewis, and thank you for offering some information in that context in your dual capacity. Thank you for that, and note taken as well as to your notification. I don't see any other member of Parliament wishing the floor for notification at this time. So we will go over to the agenda point, and that is the update on all matters related to GEBE. This initial document is booked under IS 477 of the year 2023-2024, and it was dated March 7th. Going over to the agenda point, on that date, March 7th of this year, Parliament received a letter from MPs Otley, Arundel, and La Cruz with a request for a meeting of the Central Committee of Parliament with the aforementioned agenda point, namely, update on all matters related to GEBE. In that letter, by the members of Parliament, the presence of the Prime Minister was also requested. This meeting was actually convened on August 30th, during which the requesters of this meeting were given the opportunity to motivate their request that was followed by a presentation by the Honorable Prime Minister. And after that presentation, members of Parliament were given the opportunity to pose questions to the Minister. The meeting was then adjourned to allow the Minister time to prepare the answers to the questions. And on September the 18th, the continuation of this meeting was reconvened, and the Prime Minister returned to Parliament to provide answers to the questions posed by members of Parliament during the committee meeting of August 30th. After having received answers to the questions posed, the members had additional questions for the Minister, and who indicated after a brief adjournment his availability to return to Parliament in the second week of October to respond to the questions. Hence, today, the continuation of this meeting in the presence of the Prime Minister, who is now here with Parliament in order to provide answers to the last set of questions posed by members of Parliament. So I now would give the floor to the Honorable Prime Minister and Minister of General Affairs, Mr. Luc Mercelina. Prime Minister, you have the floor.
President of Parliament, Secretary General, members of Parliament, good evening. Indeed, today I will be here to give answers to the questions as a continuation of this Central Committee meeting concerning all matters concerning GEBE. I will dive directly in giving the answers to the questions of the several MPs. I will start with MP De Wever. Her first question was, GEBE has financial constraints, while at the same time it's mentioned GEBE is absorbing the costs. Basically, these don't go together. It is a contradiction. How sustainable is it then to keep the employees on? How will it physically be done? It should be noted that this is not the first time that GEBE has absorbed the costs of fuel. It was also done after Hurricane Irma and during COVID-19 pandemic. Again, for clarity's sake, GEBE informed the shareholder representatives that the costs involved with the fuel and the rental of the container generators will not be incorporated in the tariffs for the consumers to pay. Although GEBE has its financial constraints, the decision is not to burden the consumers with these costs. As mentioned earlier, it is expected, however, that consumers will comply with their payment obligation. The second question of MP De Wever, employees are overworked, not sure if they will also be underpaid, seeing the financial constraints. Don't want this to become a situation like by Telem. The answer on this statement and question is NVGB assured the shareholder that management prioritizes the employees' well-being and addresses workload concerns. Overtime is being paid in line with NVGB policy, and currently there are no expected issues with paying bonuses, COLAs, or regular wages for both workers and management. Question 3 from MP De Wever, is the billing system accurate? As stated previously, government understands the frustration that some consumers have faced since the hacking incident, which significantly impacted the billing system. The commercial department has introduced several tools to reduce errors and improve the precision of the billing process. These tools include enhanced verification steps and mechanisms to cross-check data, helping to ensure greater accuracy. While no system is entirely free of potential errors, and issues such as not receiving a bill or incorrect meter readings are sometimes part of normal daily operations, NVGB has procedures in place to quickly address any issues that may arise. Therefore, customers who may have concerns about the accuracy of their bills are or are experiencing financial difficulties are encouraged by government to reach out to the GEBE customer service, as GEBE has stated their continued commitment to monitoring and refining the system to maintain and further improve accuracy. Question number 4 from MP De Wever. There is no contract with the SOL. Will this continue? Suggest bringing SOL, 7 Seas, the Prime Minister and Minister of VSA together on how to move forward in a collective effort. Also bring in Harbour regarding their throughput fee as the fuel is delivered directly to the port. NVGB is active negotiating with the SOL, the aims of which is to ensure and secure an agreement that aligns with the best interest of the company and its customers. The government intends to take a collective approach by negotiating with key stakeholders such as also 7 Seas, NGB and the Harbour to try and mitigate the fuel class expense in a sustainable manner. Question 5 of MP De Wever. Are the generators near to arriving on the island? The 20 megawatt generators contained in 20 feet containers are expected to arrive tomorrow, October 10th, 2024. They will be transported to the site, and by Friday, hopefully all the containers will be placed at the GEBE plant that has been prepared for that. Question by MP Doran. The throughput fee. Can clarity be given as to why this was established and by whom? As is known, financing was sought to build the causeway and for the repayment of the loan. The then government approved this fee to realize the project of the causeway. MP Gums. What is the current financial situation of GEBE? Also the debt position. No real audits were performed, so how do you know the reality of GEBE financial situation? How can, under these circumstances, sound decisions be made? As mentioned in previous meetings regarding NVGBE financial situation, formal audits have addressed the backlog of financial statements from 20 to 2022. These audits are finalized, and the audit for financial year 2023 is scheduled for completion by December 2024. NVGEBE financial situation is stable due to cost management and strict cash flow control, allowing the company to effectively manage additional expenses related to power generation challenges. Therefore, GEBE can absorb limited costs until the main generators are back online. The technical team at GEBE aims to have this generator back online before the end of 2024. I want, of course, to repeat that by paying the bills, we will also contribute to a more stable financial situation of the GEBE. MP Otley, his first question, a public meeting will be requested. The matter is now a national crisis. I agree with the MP that we are in a national crisis. However, not only now. I mentioned that a few months ago already. That is why this government focused on the short, mid, and long-term solutions to get to a solution of this national crisis for our country. Question number 2 from MP Otley. Have not received government's vision for the next 4 years. This question was already answered, but the MP is suggesting that government should have a plan also at place. As usual, I think we need to make the difference between government and the shareholders. Our main concern as a government at this moment is that we want the public to be able to enjoy constant and reliable service of GEBE. As mentioned previously, we agree as a government that the long-term solution should be renewable energy. However, at this moment, our focus is on today, and how the people of St. Martin can receive the necessary service from this government-owned company as soon as possible. I can promise Parliament that as soon as the shareholder receives the 4-year plan from GEBE after the decisions in the Council of Ministers, this plan or a synopsis thereof will be sent to Parliament. Question number 3 from MP Otley. What is the timeline that relief can be given to the people based on the negotiated agreement with 7Seas? The purpose of amending the water supply agreement with 7Seas was to reduce actually the take or pay clause compared to the agreement made in April 2018. NVGB had made numerous requests for the reduction of this clause as GB was paying for water that was not being produced or used by GB, which was causing a negative financial impact on GEBE. The reduction was agreed upon along with an extension of the water supply agreement. This reduction made it financially feasible for the NVGB to manage the water company, but has no impact on the billing of the consumer. As mentioned previously, the government will shortly hold meetings with relevant stakeholders such as the GEBE, the Harbour, the 7Seas and SOL to determine how the fuel clause can be mitigated in order to give relief to the consumers on their bills. Question number 4 from MP Otley. What is the update on the connection with the French side so that GB can bring extra revenue to their coffers? The government was informed that by GEBE that there was a signed memorandum of understanding. However, according to GEBE, today there has never been a request made to use this interconnection point. I have not yet received a copy, by the way, of this MOU. As soon as I receive a copy of this MOU, I will discuss it with the Council of Ministers and we will agree upon a way forward. Question number 5 of Mr. MP Otley. Similar to the other MPs, the MP wants a realistic timeline that the crankshaft can be repaired. GB has stated that the crankshaft repair process is highly complex and involves multiple stages, such as annealing and extensive testing to ensure its integrity and proper functioning. In regards to engine 19, if all tests are successful and no further complications arise, it is GB's aim to complete the repairs by next week, October 15, 2024, of course with no unforeseen circumstances. To this aim, NVGB technical team is working closely with specialized engineers from the manufacturer to follow the necessary procedures and will continue to provide update as the process progresses. Engine 16, which also had some crankshaft issues, should be operational by November 1st, 2024. Moving now to the questions of MP Kotai. Billing issues should go to the customer service of GB. Many constituents did such. Are the meter calibrations refreshed every time when GB is gone and returns? It is important to understand how the meters work. In the case of GB, the meters are calibrated just before installation. If during the use of the meters GEBE notices a malfunction of the meters, the manufacturer will be informed and the meters will be replaced. Question number 2. Is the reading accurate at the end of the month based on how much is actually consumed? GB is confident that their meter readings are accurate. If the variation in the reading exceeds the set parameters, their meters readers will verify the reading again. Question number 3 of MP Kotai. Another issue the MP has been told about is the large amounts being paid by business owners via bank transfers, but do not reflect actually in the billing. The check and balances are off. GEBE has expressed that every payment made by the customers to GEBE is properly recorded. GEBE was behind in processing customer payments, but is now caught up. GEBE understands that customers are expecting to see the usual details on their bills, including their understanding balance and any reflected payments. GEBE has stated that this will be back to normal once the invoicing of the remaining of the customers is completely. Question posed by MP Jacobs. Load shedding taking place. Load shedding is taking place, so you will expect less consumption. The current consumption is almost comparable to Christmas amounts. How is it possible that a period of load shedding is as high as the Christmas period? The communication to the public should be very clear. Are the consumption rates correct? GEBE has indicated that a high consumption rate during load shedding comparable to the Christmas period can be attributed to several factors, including recovery consumption. After prolonged power outages, appliances such as refrigerators, freezers, and air conditioning need to work harder to cool down the area again, consuming, of course, more electricity again. Additionally, people may use more energy once power is restored to compensate for the lost time. It is essential to monitor consumption carefully during this period. GEBE is ensuring that their consumption data is accurate and will continue to communicate clearly with the public regarding these trends. Of course, if a customer feels their billing is not correct, they are encouraged to contact customer service of NVGB for them to review it with them. Question number 2 of MP Jacobs. How is the government planning to alleviate the stress to the people of St. Martin? In regards to relief, as mentioned previously, the government will shortly hold meeting with relevant stakeholders such as GEBE itself, Harbor, Seven Seas, and Sol to determine how the fuel clause can be mitigated in order to give relief to the consumers on their bills. Question number 3 from MP Jacobs. A letter was submitted in mid-August with several questions. The MP would like this answer to be provided. The first one was permanent management. Where are we in finalizing this process? The Supervisory Board of Directors hired a consultant to do the recruitment process. Upon request of the shareholders, the result of this recruitment process was provided to the shareholders. Now a decision needs to be taken in a general shareholders meeting. Did the Corporate Governance Council provide advice on the Supervisory Board proposed candidate? Can the advice be provided to Parliament, whether positive or not? The process has not started yet. As soon as a decision is taken at the General Shareholders Meeting, the request for advice will be sent to the CGC, being the Corporate Governance Council. The third question is, only 3 engines are down. Can this be confirmed? Is it understood that generator number 7 is back up? What type of load shedding can be expected the coming period? At the moment, 3 engines at GEBE are down. It's number 9, 16, and 19. These are the ones that are non-operational. If there are no mechanical breakdowns with the remaining engines, the load shedding will be moderate, as we have experienced since August 13, 2024. It should also be noted that engine 19 should soon be operational again, which will also mitigate the load shedding. Question 4 of MP Jacobs. Is government prepared to subsidize GEBE in any way for GEBE to give relief to the people? Considering the financial situation of government, it is not realistic to expect this. It is wrong that this statement is made with the risk that this can become a discussion where we all are aware of the financial situation of government. Question by MP Westcott Williams. Explain the proposal that has been made to the Netherlands for financing. Was there a formal request? What was the discussion on this in terms of loans, repayments, etc.? Can this be further elucidated? There is a letter from the State Secretary as a response to the request of Government of St. Martin for the possibility of a loan to finance the purchase of the 3 new generators. In the letter, the State Secretary refers to the procedure to have the amount of the loan incorporated in the budget and the necessary advice of the CFT. The State Secretary continues with mentioning that the fact that our government already started with that process, that he will start the process from the side of the Netherlands as well. Further discussions were held, and the amount, approximately 72 million guilders, has already been incorporated in the amendment of the budget of St. Martin of 2024. The agreement is now that as soon as the amended budget of 2024 is approved, the State Secretary will receive the official request for the loan, and from there the negotiations will start for the loan of 72 million guilders. Question number 2. Getting together with all stakeholders regarding GEBE, can the Prime Minister go a little into the matter of the shareholder having the authority to designate someone as shareholder representative within the corporate structure of GEBE? Based on Article 8, Paragraph 6 of the Articles of Incorporation of GEBE, the shareholder is indeed authorized to appoint a special representative, a delegate, with a specific task in the event there is a conflict of interest between the corporation and managing director of or a shareholder. This procedure was indeed already also previously applied in September 2022. Question 3 of MP Sarah Westcott Williams is: what is currently outside of the emergency measures the plan that GEBE is working on right now? The different studies on GEBE and the future of energy for St. Martin. How does this fit in the future? Is there a roadmap, and can this plan be shared with Parliament? Outside of the emergency measure consisting of the containerized generators, the government and GEBE are working on the financing and purchase of the 3 9-megawatt generators so that the energy supply for St. Martin can be stabilized. Also, once again, I would like to restate that as a government, we agree that the long-term plans of GEBE must incorporate the generator and also renewable energy for St. Martin. GEBE has indicated that the recently completed least cost power development plan produced by Energynautics is intended to inform GEBE's long-term incorporation of renewable energy into the island energy supply. I can assure Parliament that as soon as the shareholder receives the 4-year plan from GEBE and after discussion with the Council of Ministers, this plan or a synopsis thereof will be sent to Parliament. President of Parliament, I think and hope that I have given answers to the questions that has been posed by the members of Parliament. Thank you, President.
Prime Minister, thank you for those answers provided in response to questions by members of Parliament. I now turn to my left and I ask if I do see that there are MPs who wish to have additional deliberations on this subject, and I firstly give the floor to MP Kotai. MP Kotai, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Once again, good afternoon to all. Thank you, Prime Minister, for coming back with the answers. Just to go back on the meter reading, Prime Minister, through you, Madam Chair, I'll give an example in my own case. The GEBE bill of my home has gone up predominantly higher than normal. My household has reduced from 4 persons to 1 and myself, I'm not home most of the day, but my bill is way higher than it's supposed to be. So me, myself, I'm facing these billing issues, and for those others who have mentioned this, our constituents, as I mentioned, brought this up to the correct departments and don't seem to be finding any headway with their billing issue complaints. So I just would like to know, through you, Madam Chair, where there can be a communication gap, and where can I myself also go to speak to an individual from GEBE, and where I can direct those who are coming to me about their billing issues that they are facing. That's about it. Prime Minister, through you, Madam Chair, thank you very much.
I thank you, MP Kotai. I will go over to the next Member of Parliament, who is MP Irian. And MP Irian, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon to you, the Secretary General, my colleagues, the Prime Minister and his support staff, and the viewing public. Madam Chair, I have a similar concern to MP Kotai regarding the bills. If you look at the time that we had the intense load shedding, so let's say July to August, and I'm not even looking at the, for example, how high the bill was, or even the fuel cost. Let's look at the usage. So I've looked at and analyzed the usage, and when I look at the amount I used then versus a period earlier, it doesn't make any sense. Why? For example, in Kobe or let's say Cahill, they were out at least 8 hours a day. So it can be that with less usage, my bill is higher. So not looking at fuel clause. I'm looking at usage now. With less usage, my bill is higher than in the past. And I do have an example of why that is potentially happening. So we're busy load shedding, and my AC goes off, my fridge goes off. For the AC or the fridge to reach back to temperature, it takes a lot more energy than it being constantly on. So you burn current every time. So if every single day you go off for 4 hours, yes, the bill will be higher. Your usage will increase, because people are confused because they're saying, listen, how come my usage is more in July or August when I've been out for 8 hours a day? Because the energy consumption of the equipment is more. No, so that's true, that's a fact. But is it fair to me as a consumer? Because I didn't purposely take off my AC, my fridge every day to bring it up to that point. It was done because of load shedding. So the consumer should not and cannot be punished because the entity had us load shedding. And you can verify this information. You look at the usage of those 2 months is less, but is more in a period of time where load shedding was more. So I believe that at least for those 2 months, GB has to look up at some type of compensation, because it cannot be on a consumer, because then it's almost a blackmail, right? That, you know what, to get more money out of the population, I'll just load shed, their energy consumption will go up, and then I'll get more money. It just can't do that, at least for those 2 months.
That's it, MP Irian. Thank you, MP Irian. I continue, and I give the floor to MP Otley. MP Otley, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you, Madam Chair, thank you to the Honorable Prime Minister for your answers. With that being said, I have a couple of clarifications, and I guess a couple of new questions. It was stated by MP Durant's questions that the throughput fees was established to pay for the causeway. It was stated that was established by the then government. Which government and which year? On top of that, I would like to know, when was the fuel clause introduced? And also, when did we notice a significant increase in the fuel clause or the calculation of the fuel clause? Also, it is often said that GEBE is not passing the strain on the consumer. Over and under, we asked of this. GEBE, while we hold the shareholder reps accountable, I realize that we do that, of course, in our capacity. The reality is, where does the responsibility lie? When we were in the Council of Ministers, we realized as well that a lot of people dropped the ball, therefore there was a change in the supervisory board, there was change in the management, because at some point responsibility needs to be had. That is why in the last meeting, through you, Madam Chair, I would have liked to see the head of the plant. I realized we didn't see the head of the plant or hear from him throughout this entire process. And I feel that, yes, as government, we take the onus of many things, but at a certain point, transparency and understanding that sometimes we need to drop the hammer. But what I realized is that, to me, the consumers get the bad end of the stick. GEBE not being able to follow up with the deal from 7 Seas, they can twist and turn, but the fact remains is that 7 Seas gave them a lower rate than ever before, allowing them to save even more money. And the idea of this was not so that GEBE can just save the money, have it on their bank account, but to transfer relief. And I'm talking about the water distribution deal for those who may be lost. On top of that, we have to deal with the friend side, and GEBE is showing no type of urgency. No type of urgency to say, oh, we have not received a request. This is something that can bring millions to the coffers of GEBE, and we are acting as if we have the leisure to sit and wait until the friend side asks something. An agreement was signed, and the idea was to start as soon as possible. So through you, Madam Chair, I'm not going to definitely say the government on this one. I would say GEBE, but I would turn to the Minister of VSA and say she has a responsibility as well. So someone needs to pick it up, and someone needs to ensure that we can gain revenues from this. Again, who is suffering? The consumers. Then now we see that there's an amendment where GEBE will be placed in the CAPEX. At the end of the day, this is the responsibility of the taxpayers, no matter how we twist and turn. Because in order to be budget neutral, as the Minister of Finance stated, things would have to be taken out. And this is what you call sacrifice. But to whom expense? The expense of the taxpayers. We suffer for a causeway that we couldn't pay for, introduce throughput fees, cost of living gone up, GEBE now, it's being painted as no consumer will feel the expense, being placed in CAPEX. So everything falls on the expense of the taxpayer or the consumer, no matter how we twist and turn it. It's time for us now to put some responsibility where it needs to be. We have tried to cover as much as we can for the management of GEBE and the shortcomings. And yes, we are the shareholders, and that is why I wanted to hear from the Prime Minister the direction. Because what I realized was a direction sometimes can help shift and mold a company. As often stated, I'm very proud of it. When I was minister, we had meetings with SZV, and we had clear-cut directions that we wanted to see from SZV. And from then, SZV has received 3 positive audit reports back to back to back. And that comes from sense of direction and knowing what you want. I would like to see the same thing from this government and GEBE. As shareholders, create a plan and ensure, hold them accountable. Because at the end of the day, the people hold us accountable and not those that actually may mess it up and have messed it up in the past. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, MP Otley, for your contribution to the discussion. I now give the floor to MP Lewis. MP Lewis, you have the floor.
Good afternoon again to you, Madam Chair, Griffier, Prime Minister, and my colleagues here. Prime Minister, through you, Madam Chair, I would like to know, when will the management team of GEBE get your house in order? The people of this country is suffering, especially the pensioners. When will the people of this country get some type of relief from NVGEBE? I have also received many complaints from consumers regarding the damage of their compliances at home. What is in place at GEBE to compensate the people of this country for the damages and loss because of the constant load shedding. Through you, Madam Chair, Prime Minister, we have people literally turning off their breakers because of the constant damages. We have people really turning off their water meter because of the constant damages and the high inflated bills that they are getting, that no one can attest or account for why these bills are so inflated. Prime Minister, one of those, through you, Madam Chair, is my grandmother that is turning 76 years old, that I know literally does full buckets of water, that literally turns off her current because at the end of the day, she's a pensioner, and the only thing that she has is her AOV pension. I have to look out as a representative for my country, and I really would like to reiterate again, when will the management team of GEBE get their house in order? That's all, Madam Chair.
Thank you, MP Lewis, for your contribution in the discussion and your concerns raised. I now give the floor to MP Lacruz. MP Lacruz, you have the floor.
A blessed afternoon, Madam Chair Lady, Mr. Khifir, Prime Minister and your support staff, my fellow colleagues, members of Parliament, and those watching on social media and those in the Tribune. Madam Chair Lady, I'd like to start the tone on a different tone today, and I'd like to start by first thanking the Khifir and the team for actually organizing during the orientation week a very, very informative explanation and meeting and tour of GEBE. I'd like to thank also the CEO of GEBE, Mr. Troy Washington, for making himself available, and the rest of the team that gave us a lot of answers to a lot of questions that we had, and has brought some more to light than what I have gotten here in Parliament. Madam Chair Lady, during the tour, I was extremely happy to hear that the generators that are coming in, they will be able to burn 3 fuels, because that diesel and the fuel clause is definitely something that has not hit us the way it should, will hit us eventually. And if we thought that the bills were high, ladies and gentlemen, they're going to get higher. Madam Chair Lady, I was somewhat, and my colleague MP Otley made mention of it, when the Prime Minister stated to the question from MP De Weaver that GEBE will take the hit themselves. While looking at a budget, that doesn't look so. But what I'm going to ask now from the Prime Minister, Madam Chair Lady, through you, is that Parliament receives a copy of everything that had to do, all contracts, lease agreement, everything that had to do with anything with the containers and the generators from GEBE, even if they're confidential, ter inzage, but I will not be part of anything, signing anything that I have no full transparency of, like the Enya saga. So, Madam Chair Lady, through you, even before we start our deliberations on the budget amendment tomorrow, it would be nice to get those things up front so we could run through the budget amendment even faster. Madam Chair Lady, I mentioned it before already. There's more than one request, I think, from numerous companies asking for presentations or to do presentations that they could offer their services to St. Martin. And I am referring to, especially with LNG, seeing that we're now going to get more generators that can burn LNG. Madam Chair Lady, I don't even care which company gets it, but I know that the Prime Minister will make sure that we move in the direction to get that done one way or the other, because it will be a lot cheaper for the country of St. Martin. My GB bill, I don't even want to talk about that. It is crazy. Okay? Madam Chair Lady, I'm going to leave it there.
Thank you,
Thank you.
MP La Cruz. And I continue, and I give the floor to MP De Wever. MP De Wever, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady. Good afternoon to you. Good afternoon to the Prime Minister and his support staff here. Good afternoon, one and all. You know, I kind of feel like we're going over the same thing over and over and over and getting nowhere in the discussion of GEBE. And I listened to the answers, and I know specifically that the answers the Honorable Prime Minister is reading is coming directly from GEBE. And one of the answers from my questions, I will go straight to where it's talking about how GEBE has covered the cost of the fuel charge beforehand in moments of dire need, when we needed to really sort of give a break or relief to the public. And what I will say, one of the examples was given was that it was after Hurricane Irma. And I remember that especially well because I started to work with them in January of 2018. And the reason that that's a completely different scenario than now is because of the fact that you have a government-related entity of which the government of St. Martin is the shareholder that has absolutely not fixed the first problem they had, which happened in 22, which was the cyber attack, which caused the loss of data. That was problem number one, exacerbated by load shedding. So it is not the same scenario, because problem number one, because it was never fixed, has now made problem number two so dire that that's what keeps me up at night, because we're about to enter into our high season. And, you know, if we don't have this sorted out soon, then I don't see how the island that is over 80% dependent on tourism can ensure that people are going to come here unless you have a generator. So, again, I understand, Madam Chair Lady, that the Prime Minister is receiving these answers from GEBE, but there is no difference to me in the answers or the reliability of the answers now than they were 2 years ago when I was dealing with the cyber attack. And again, I will stress the fact that I know GEBE's numbers. At this point, I would probably prefer to maybe even take it off air so that we could talk about the absolute truth of what we are going to be facing if this is not sorted out soon. I am not fear-mongering. I will never, ever do that. I just know what a company is capable of taking and handling. So until I get comfort that problem number one of the cyber attack is 100% resolved and trust is rebuilt with the community, then I will start to believe that problem number two is near being solved. But at this moment, I don't get that comfort. Thank you very much, Madam Chair Lady.
Thank you, MP De Wever, and I now give the floor to MP Roseberg. MP Roseberg, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Secretary General. Thank you, Prime Minister and support staff for the questions provided. I just have one question, seeing all that my colleagues have brought forward in regards to the compensation that there might be available for consumers. In case my colleagues weren't aware of that as yet, in June 2024, I have submitted a detailed compensation plan request. So I want to make use of the opportunity to follow up and ask the Prime Minister, through you, Madam Chair, if there is already a response from GEBE available in regards to the detailed compensation request I have submitted in regards to the compensation loss of consumers, so that we not will be doing double work as MPs. That's all, Madam Chair.
Thank you, MP Roseberg. MP Irian, you wanted to add something to the discussion. MP Irian, you have the floor.
Yes, there's one more question I got from some individuals. that they are concerned about their deposits. So they closed their accounts in 2022, 2023, and they would like to have their deposits. And they're contacting, they're not able to get those deposits. So if we could get an update on that.
Thank you, MP Irian, for those additional queries. And MP Gomes, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady, and good afternoon to everyone, my colleagues, Rifir, the Prime Minister, his support staff, and those joining us online or by radio. Madam Chair, I didn't even know where to begin, so I didn't actually write anything down, so I'm gonna just speak. Yeah, from a point of confusion, because I asked about the financial situation at GEBE, and again to be told that, you know, the financial situation is stable due to strict cash flow management. I also asked what's the current debt position. That wasn't answered, but I know that that may be confidential or so. But I can kind of guess because I too have been in a company that has been in a crisis. Following Hurricane Irma at UTS, we had over 1,000 broadband customers, radios destroyed. What that led to was that UTS had, as the old people would say, money on the road. As MP Weaver mentioned, the first problem has not been solved at GEBE, which is the cash flow issue of people not paying their bills because the billing system is shot. Two, and I'll let people fill in what that last word is because I can't say it on floor of Parliament. But essentially what it means is that what is the money on the road then for GEBE if we could get that amount? Because I know there's an amount. There's no need to sugarcoat it. Again, if you want to take it offline, I'm more than willing to do that because I understand the purpose of a closed-door meeting. Because I'm also looking at high season, and I'm also thinking that these generators that are coming from CMEC are not going to be the be-all, end-all to sustain us through high season. Because they're not, what's there now is barely sustaining us now. And I don't think that we're going to be at a point where, when we hit in peaks during high season, that I think of not just people using air conditioners, etc. I think of mega yachts plugging in. I think of private jets. I think of all of that. So, and this is not to discredit anybody at GEBE. I've said for a while now that there was a decision made to remove a whole management team, and Peter Weaver has also said it in the past. There was a decision made to wipe a supervisory board, to put in a supervisory board that to this day has not been held accountable for the hack. Let's just call a spade a spade. And then following that, we have management that was brought in to fix a financial issue and then faced with a technical issue. So I don't believe, and this is again not to the Prime Minister, but I would caution you, just like I have previously, to not take everything that is said at face value and just to regurgitate it in Parliament and in the media. GEBE cannot show me anything that's going to tell me that they can sustain the hit that they're taking. And I also don't believe that these generators that are coming in now, the container generators, are going to sustain us through high season, which makes me wonder if we're going to have to keep the SO energy generators throughout high season, which is an additional cost. More fuel, more rental fees. So all of that does not, there's not a lot of confidence in me in the management right now or the information that we're getting from GEBE, and I've said it before. And it's no disrespect to anyone because people have long toes in this country. But as I look at the corner of my eye at Telem, I see already what is coming. So if we can keep that in mind, if the Prime Minister could maybe just, if we have to go behind closed doors, let us to understand what a real financial issue is, because I'm not going to be okay with a plan, a 4-year plan now that is supposed to come for renewable energy, when right now is the time when we should just be hitting a hard left turn in that direction. Because if not, we're just going to keep bleeding cash, and we're not going to actually get anywhere. Because I know how it's going to go. Everybody's going to get comfortable once their ACs are on 24/7. Everyone's going to get relaxed, and then we do not actually make a plan. That is St. Martin in a nutshell, to be honest. So if that could be something that we could guess, I just want to know, what's the money on the road right now for GEBE? Thank you.
Thank you, MP Melissa Gomes. And the next person to to speak, or requesting the floor, is MP De Wever. But before I give MP De Wever the floor, I think it is noteworthy to mention, because with several of you, members of parliament that is, we have been discussing the need to look at the structure of our committees, and not only the participation, but also what I like to term the topical nature of these committees. And in my opinion, which I kind of put to Parliament, one of the first ones to be created in that fashion should be one of climate, energy, and the environment, so that, like some other matters, the Parliament can keep its fingers on the pulse of this entire issue, which so many of you have stated have been ongoing, and the end is nowhere in sight. I just wanted to plug that in there as I now give the floor to MP De Wever. MP De Wever, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady. I actually was going to refer to, part of the lectures and trainings and orientations that we've had lately as a parliament, and a very, very experienced, very knowledgeable leader in a training yesterday, I think it was, said to us, in our day-to-day task here in Parliament or as a minister, never to take things personally. And if anyone could feel how I feel right now, my neighbor next to me and party leader MP Gums has to hear my whispers. And, when I say I'm worried about something, then, and I can't, and my body is reacting in a negative way, we have an issue. We have a problem. And this is the thing is, we're here to help the Prime Minister and his team. Where if we go out, if we go dark, all of us is gonna go dark. So we're here to help. But what I need is to remind people not to take things personally. And just like MP Gums earlier on said, who we gonna hold responsible for this? Everybody have to know that we all need to be on our P's and Q's, and it's literally walking on eggshells right now because of how sensitive this entire situation is. That at any minute it could actually blow out of our handling. And then when I have to prepare for a budget debate that starts tomorrow, and I look at the same government that is approving Enya bailout, coming in with all of the money we're gonna put behind generators, I get even more worried, and I'm actually trembling in my seat. I have no shame, absolutely no shame saying that. So I need to make sure that I can support the Prime Minister when he's coming to answer me with truth. And the truth is that GEBE needs to tell you exactly what they're capable of. Just to ask them a simple question. What's your cash burn rate? What is your cash burn rate? And if they can't tell you that it's over 3 months, then we got a major problem.
Thank you, MP De Wever. MP Otley, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, this is through you again, reminds me of the last meeting when I specifically told the Prime Minister that at some point he's going to have to put his foot down and GEBE is going to have to relate the truth. And I stated yesterday to the Honorable Minister of Finance, we often read questions and say they come from GEBE, they come from Central Bank or wherever it may be. But once you accept it through you, Madam Chair, and you read it, it becomes your answer to the people of St. Martin. I have noticed that the company, we are painting a picture of survivability because we want to remain the monopoly. And I specifically asked the Prime Minister his thoughts and the thoughts of the government on privatization. It's not what people want to hear, but at some point we have to realize that we need to think of all possible scenarios and the worst case scenarios, because if it blows up in our face, I have often said it, the minister, the new government didn't go down there and set the generators on fire. They did not. It's not their fault. But however, you're here, you're there now. You're in the position now, and the responsibility through you, Madam Chair, is that of the new government. And we are here to assist any way that we can. I would advise, I second the request from MP La Cruz to get all the information pertaining to this loan, or the generators, the funds, the purchasing, because what I did learn yesterday from the loan agreement is that while loans and those things can come in the budget amendment, the detailing the detailing cannot or will not be provided. Not, I won't say cannot. And what happened is you can end up approving a loan, and we end up in a situation like we did yesterday where there's red tape and stipulations tying us to things that we do not want. So I too would like to request all of the information provided with this generator purchasing to ensure that we are indeed making the best possible decision when we approve or disapprove the budget amendment that is to come.
Thank you, MP Otley. At this time, members of Parliament, Honorable Prime Minister, I am going to adjourn for 5 minutes in order to caucus with the Prime Minister about the responses to be provided to the questions and comments by members of Parliament. Meeting adjourned for 5 minutes. Members of Parliament, ladies and gentlemen, Honorable Prime Minister and staff, good afternoon and welcome back. The intention was, after that brief adjournment, to come back with the proposal by the Prime Minister as to the continuation and him providing answers to questions by members of Parliament. MP York, you requested the floor. Would you like to do that before you hear from the Prime Minister? Because we're going to hear from him as to the continuation. You want to, okay, make your point, MP York.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Seeing that most likely after the Prime Minister's address, we might most likely adjourn the meeting, maybe, maybe not. I would like to follow up on my query from the beginning of the meeting, if you got any clarity, because I heard this morning that the Minister of Romy mentioned in his press briefing that there were no work permits, no permits issued for that construction, and there was even a construction stop the last time, but yet we have people, contractors, busy on the land again today. So try to find out how something like that could happen. Thank you.
MP York, you went a little bit off track there in terms of the whole discussion, but nevertheless, as I mentioned, when you raise your concern during notifications, if the Prime Minister was especially able, I'm sure he was willing, but if he was able to respond in whatever way, he would have done that. And I think that the Prime Minister does have a response, which he was going to put forward following the adjournment. Nevertheless, at this time, Prime Minister, I would ask you to make your proposal or your recommendation with respect to the continuation of this meeting, one, and also provide the update that you have been able to get. Prime Minister, you have the floor.
President, thank you for this opportunity. Concerning my proposal for continuity is, if the members of Parliament give me that option, possibility, I would like to give written answers to all the questions, especially also because there were some sensitive questions asked. And if in case more information is needed, I'm willing to come back in a closed-door meeting with GEBE, as is also indicated, if that is necessary, by MP De Wever and MP Gums. If that is for you as MPs okay, that is the way I would like to propose it. Secondly, MP York, you have, of course, a very concerned statement that you made in the beginning of this Central Committee meeting concerning some activities going on in the area of Diamond Estate. Of course, it's very concerning if you make that statement. We made work out of it. We contacted immediately the Minister of Romy, and there are no demolishing activities going on at Diamond Estate. What is going on is some cleaning activities around that area, but there is no demolishing activities going on. And to make sure, the Minister of Romy sent some inspectors also to inspect personally, firsthand, what is going on, and they only confirm what I just told you, so that that worry that you have can be taken away, because there are no demolishing activities, just cleaning the area around, and it's confirmed by the inspectors to the Minister of Romy.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister, for responding to that. I see MP Otley. Before I make the proposal based on the recommendations of the Prime Minister for the continuation, you wanted to make a point, or is it something additional you wish to ask?
Thank you,
MP Otley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I would like to say that I have no issues receiving the answers in writing. However, I would request that it's sent before budget. Very important.
Thank you, MP Otley. In fact, I would have want to hear from the Prime Minister based on his proposal, and unless we have an if there's any objection, I would support the proposal that the answers be given in writing, and based on those answers, if necessary, a closed-door meeting can be held where whatever information that cannot be provided publicly will be provided, and I stress will be provided. And stating that, I want to echo or repeat the question in terms of how quickly can members of Parliament receive the answers in writing? When is it estimated that we can get those?
Is a week time acceptable for the members of Parliament, Madam Chair?
before I answer, I hold my breath and I give the floor to MP Irian. MP Irian?
Yes, following up on the request from, I support the request from MP Otley, and I believe I would like to say, let's say not before budget, but at least before the public meeting of the budget debate, the amendment.
Makes sense. Yeah. I was going to mention to MP Otley that actually we are starting tomorrow on the Central Committee handling of the budget. So yes, for the public handling of the budget. Okay, that's understood, and I can support that. Did I have an MP La Cruz? You no longer need a floor, or do you? MP La Cruz?
No, thank you, Madam Chair Lady, and that was exactly my point that I was going to bring. Once I get that information before the Central Committee, the public meeting on the budget, that would be, and Prime Minister, through you, Madam Chair Lady, because I know that schedule has not come out as yet, the convocation, for when that will take place, but if you could make sure that we have a couple days in between, that we don't get it the day before we have the meeting, because then it's...
Oh, you mean the answers to be provided in writing?
Correct. Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair Lady.
Noted, MP La Cruz. Prime Minister, you have heard the requests. The only thing I would like to add, and you've asked for a week, I think that's reasonable, and if it can be done before. And like I would always put in my letter on questions from members of Parliament, while we have the period of 3 weeks, whatever you can present, whatever you can send before with a reference to the ones which still have to come, that would be appreciated if the same can be done here. So with that, members of Parliament, or the Prime Minister has a comment to make. Prime Minister, you have the floor.
Okay. President, thank you for this last opportunity. Thank you for the understanding, and I will make sure that we bring the answers back to the members of Parliament before the public meeting that is going to treat the budget for St. Martin. On the other side, I want to make a great comment that I appreciate the constructive, positive approach of the members of Parliament that actually radiates a sentiment to the people that this is a common issue that we all are confronting. It's not a problem of the Prime Minister, and I felt also that you guys felt it that way as members of Parliament. On the other side, it's not a problem of the members of Parliament, it's a problem of all of us. It's a great challenge, it's a big challenge for us in this country, and from the side of government, for sure, we're going to continue doing what we have to do to resolve this problem, and I really appreciate this very constructive approach and positive approach to contribute to solve this national problem for the people of St. Martin. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prime Minister, for those concluding remarks. Thank you for your presence and your recommendations and advice in terms of the further answering of questions posed by members of Parliament. Members of Parliament, I want to thank you for your participation, and hereby, ladies and gentlemen, members of Parliament, we have come to the end of this meeting. Meeting closed.